Hello, students, and welcome to the lecture on Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is just a basic introduction to managerial accounting, and it's primarily comprised of overall concepts and some definitions. Okay, so first thing we'll talk about of substance is, let's see, you can read most of this on your own. I think it'll be pretty easy to understand. The concept of organization charts, you've probably seen these before, but you'll see this in several of your other classes as you go through the MBA program here at Chaminade. An organization chart simply is a graphical depiction of reporting responsibilities within a company, who reports to who. So example in this one, the president reports to the board of directors, who in turn reports to shareholders. And under the president, apparently there's 3 departments: personnel, sales, accounting. And within sales, there are several departments under that: video, audio, satellite, accessories, and service. So again, organization charts simply show the formal reporting responsibility within a company. Let's see. A couple of terminology things. Chief financial officer. The chief financial officer in a large corporation is the person responsible for all of the financial matters of the company. That includes accounting, finance, insurance. So that's the top financial person. The controller, on the other hand, is the head of the accounting department. So controller is more specific than the chief financial officer, although in some companies, especially smaller ones, these two people are one and the same. So it's CFO / controller. But again, in large corporations, big companies, the controller is strictly on the accounting side and runs the accounting department, where the chief financial officer oversees all of finance. So not only including accounting, but all the other financial type areas as well. Okay. Okay, basic management functions. Again, you'll learn this throughout the MBA program here, but there are 4 functions of management: planning, organizing, directing, controlling. So planning, okay, and these are fairly well self-explanatory, but planning is determining the future. So generally involving broad policies and strategies, but also including short-term tactical plans as well. So it's looking into the future and trying to plan for the future. Okay, that's an important function of management. Organizing. Organizing is, what do you need in order to achieve the plans that you came up with in the planning phase, the strategies, the objectives, goals. Okay, so organizing is, what resources do you need to make the plans happen? Okay, so whether that's materials, personnel, okay, other kinds of assets, how do you get things together in order to start making your plan happen? Directing is monitoring, controlling the day-to-day operations. So directing is while something is being done, making sure that those processes are in place and making sure that they are working okay. Controlling, on the other hand, is making sure things are being done the way they're supposed to be done. Okay. The difference between directing and controlling is directing is more of a, let's say, monitoring routine day-to-day operations, whereas controlling is taking a look at things that aren't working like they're supposed to and seeing why and then fixing it. Okay, so Here's a model of the decision-making process, and it's a continuous process. Again, I'll leave it to you to go through this. This is just general information for the rest of the course. Okay. Organizations, there are two broad categories of organizations: profit-seeking or for-profit businesses and non-profit or not-for-profit entities. This course, we're mainly going to be focusing on for-profit organizations. We're not going to touch on nonprofits all that much. There are specialized accounting courses on nonprofit organizations here at Chaminade, as there are specialized management courses on not-for-profit organizations. But this course is going to strictly be focused on the for-profit sector. Okay. I'm skipping through this kind of quickly because most of this stuff you can get by reading it on your own. Okay, so in this section here under users of management accounting information, it's basically looking at those 4 phases of management and looking at it from an accounting standpoint. So for example, planning, the accounting function in the planning process is mainly budgeting. So preparing budgets for the future. Capital budgets are the planning for major fixed assets, property, plant, and equipment. Okay, then there's the annual budget, so setting projections for the year. And short-range planning is for real short-term problems and that you need to do budgets for. Okay, and again, there's some descriptions of the different kinds of budgeting. In this course, we will be talking about capital budgeting. Again, that's looking at alternatives for investments in long-term assets like equipment, buildings, that type of thing. We have a chapter devoted to that topic. Also, annual budgets. We also have a couple of chapters devoted to the preparing and analyzing of budgets, financial budgets. Okay, and let's see. Yeah, you can read the rest of this on your own. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, the difference between managerial accounting, which this course is focused on, and financial accounting, which you learned about in MBA610. Financial accounting is focused on preparing financial statements. And the focus is primarily, although not exclusively, but primarily focused toward external users, people outside the company. So for example, financial accounting, financial statements are useful for investors, potential stockholders, lenders, people wanting to lend money to the company, bond holders. Those are all external users of the financial information. Although in financial accounting, internal users may also have an interest in financial statements. For example, employees. Employees might want to know how well their company's doing. So financial accounting, although is being used by both internal and external users, the primary focus is toward external users. Managerial or management accounting, on the other hand, are financial information that is useful to internal users, so to the management of a company. Okay. This section here is looking at similarities, and obviously the similarities, the biggest is they both use money, okay, dollars in the case of the US. So the information is money information, okay, dollars. So in that sense, they are kind of similar, but on the other hand, there are some major differences. For publicly traded companies, that is, companies that whose stock can be bought or sold by the general public on a stock exchange, those companies, publicly traded companies, have to meet certain strict requirements on how they prepare their financial statements. And those set of rules are called GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. So everybody follows the same rules, uses similar format when preparing financial information. So it's very rigidly controlled by the Securities and Exchange Commission and by accounting rules or GAAP. Okay, so it's not very much room for leeway. On the other hand, managerial information is not controlled by any external body. So management accounting information, since it's used only within a company, there's no set rules governing how and what is prepared. It's basically whatever management needs to make good decisions, and in whatever form they need it in, that's what management accounting reports focus on. Okay, so there's a lot more leeway, a lot less strict guidelines as far as how and what to prepare in managerial accounting. And as you'll see, there are certain things that are kind of standardized, but it's not mandated that they have to look like that. Okay, so there's a lot more flexibility, a lot more judgment involved in managerial accounting. This next section, management accounting as a recognized discipline, is simply talking about the fact that management accounting is its own discipline. So it's a separate discipline within accounting that's very well recognized. There is this thing called a Certified Management Accountant, CMA. CMA is similar to the CPA, which you may have heard of as a Certified Public Accountant. Certified Public Accountants are independent accountants who do work for other companies. CMAs, on the other hand, are CMAs generally work for a specific company. Yeah, so they do all of their work for and within a company. CMA exam is an exam that's given to kind of tell people that the person who earned that CMA designation knows about management accounting. Okay, so again, it's focused strictly on management accounting. CPA is more broad, focuses on financial accounting as well as some managerial accounting and other disciplines. So CMA is more narrowly focused. But again, it's just to tell people that this person knows what he's talking about when it comes to managerial accounting. Okay. So again, this chapter 1 was just really a broad stroke look at many of the concepts that we're going to be talking about later in the course. At the end of every chapter, there's a section called New Terms. So there's a terminology section. Make sure you understand the terminology section. All the exams will have questions around terminology. So you should know all the terms that are defined within the chapters. Okay. You see there's a lot of them, but you should know all of these. Even if we don't talk about them or discuss them or have homework assignments on them, make sure you do know the terminology. Okay. Just as a FYI, at the end of the chapter, there's also a self-test. It's a true-false test just to make sure that you get the major points of what's in the chapter. So it's just true, false, the answers. Oh, and by the way, there's also a multiple choice self-test. Okay. which I encourage you to take as well, just to make sure you have understanding of what's in the chapter. The answers to both the true, false, and the multiple choice self-tests are, as you can see here on page 27, for example, for chapter 1. Yeah, so it's a way to test yourself to make sure you've got the major concepts in the chapter. Okay, and following that, there are questions. We don't cover the questions per se, so I didn't assign these for homework, but if you are so inclined, they're kind of useful to see if you understand, again, the concepts that are in the chapter. Okay. Then there are the problems. Okay. The problems, well, for chapter 1, there are only problems, and I believe in the other chapters there's different sections, and we'll look at that when we get to that chapter 2. But okay, the homework assignments are generally the exercises at the end of the chapter. Okay, and basically, yeah. Okay, and here's the answers to the self-test. Okay, so now that's the basic structure of each chapter, and I'll look at the different things at the end of the chapter in chapter 2 when we get to that. Okay, so that's the lecture on chapter 1. Until the next lecture, aloha.